Muleys, I'm back. Sorry about such a long time without any videos. So today we're gonna talk about global flows. There are so many names you can call them: shared flows, global flows, but essentially what this means is a flow that we can share across multiple applications. And I'm gonna demonstrate how you can do this with my project that was generated from one of the archetypes that I'm actually publicly sharing on Bitbucket. So with the help of this archetype, you can generate either domain-based project or Cloud Hub-based project without domain. Anyway, so let's start by diving right into the details, and we're gonna look at the Commons project. You can call that project obviously anything you want. So what is this Common project? Commons project is sort of a regular Java project, and as a result, when you build that project, it becomes a jar, which is a library, and you can include that library into any of your Mule application as a regular dependency. So the jar, just like for many modules and components that you already have in your Mule application, it will get included the same exact way as a jar, right? So, and the benefit of that is that we can add resources into that jar. So think of this common Java project, as basically a container of handy XML files, and we can use include directive. Well, it's actually not directive. We can use include component in Mule 4 to actually reference any of these XMLs within this Java library, Commons library, and include them into our Mule applications. All right, so how did I create this project? So originally I created this project as a regular Mule app, and then I had to modify it a little bit, and let me show you how. I set packaging, so right now I'm in POM.xml. I set packaging to jar, and then the other thing that was necessary is to be able to use this packaging is to disable extensions in Mule Maven plugin, because by default Mule projects use this plugin, and the plugin only supports its own types of packaging, which, as you know, is Mule application or Mule domain and so on. There are several of them. So maybe there's a better way of doing this. Maybe there's a package that's available in this plugin that we can utilize to achieve the same goal. I wasn't able to find it, so I'm just using a regular jar packaging as you would typically use for a regular Java project. So the end result, once you build this project, will be a jar file, a library, and you can include it into any of your applications as a simple dependency, like you add any of the libraries as dependencies. So let's take a look at how we can accomplish that. We're gonna go into System API. By the way, all these projects are automatically generated by my archetype, and that will help you get up and running much quicker than going from scratch, obviously. And you have your typical 3-layer architecture experience process system, along with shared flows and other useful common utilities. As well as, well, for this project, we also have domain project, which is essential if you are running on-premise. In any case, let's go into System API, and we're gonna look at POM.xml. But before we look into POM.xml, Since this is already set up and imported into Studio, let's take a look at project library. And what we see is this Mule Commons project is actually part of project libraries. And if we open it, you see these XML files, right? So it's a jar, just like this Commons LAN that we have, or any other modules. Just like in Mule server, you see a bunch of these jars, right? Same exact way. So we created our own library that we can attach as a dependency to any of the projects, any of the Mule applications, and then reference whatever is inside, which is called class path, right? So these will be XML documents on the class path. So let's take a look at the POM XML. So as you see, this is our system API. And then if we go into dependencies section, we see this Commons library attached, right? So this is all just dependency. It doesn't have any scope, which means it's runtime scope, and it will be always added as a jar to your library. Now there is one extra thing that's very important, but it's already part of this setup. Just in case, I'm gonna mention it here. In Mule 4, we actually have to reference it as a shared library in Mule Maven plugin, right? Just like with database drivers, for example, you have to add them as shared libraries. So that's why Mule Commons here is a shared library. And now let's go into config XML, which is, many people call them global XML. This is your configuration setup for the project. I like to keep all of my imports, HTTP configurations, on all the connector configurations, everything. So here, what you will find is that we're utilizing import. And if I switch into global elements view, you see it's an import, and it's importing the following XML files from Commons library. And as you see, we simply provide the name of the XML file, and what Mule will do at runtime, it will actually search the class path. It will search all the jars that are within your application and try to find this XML file. If it doesn't find it in your libraries, it will search within the project source main resources in any case. So it will be found and then imported into your application. Imported means that at runtime, whatever XML you have in that XML file will become part of your project. And to demonstrate that this actually works, what I'm gonna show is the fact that we can actually reference these common flows. So if we go into API XML, I'm utilizing some of the common flows to log messages before the API kit router and after. And as you see here, I'm in the flow reference component. Now, if I open it, you see all these commons colon with the commons colon prefix flows. These actually come from that Mule Commons library. Okay, so as you see, Studio was smart enough to import it and actually be able to give you this drop down to do simple reference. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up right now. If any questions, ask in comments for this video, and I will create another part with additional explanation and usage for these global flows.